Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Marketing Podcast, your source for all things marketing. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have John Kadlic on the line, and he's owner and CEO over at Parallel Path Digital Marketing Agency. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Adam. It's good to be with you today.
All right, John, so we have a big topic to cover today, and we will talk about performance marketing for businesses. A lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives listening to this marketing podcast to get tips and to get insight, and you're the guy on here to talk about performance marketing. But before we get into that, I think it would be helpful maybe to give a little bit of an overview of what you're doing over at Parallel Path Digital Marketing Agency, please.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thanks again for having me today. So Parallel Path is an integrated digital marketing agency. We've been around for 15 years. We're headquartered in beautiful Boulder, Colorado. And we do a variety of digital marketing services for businesses. And our primary focus is on health, wellness, and lifestyle brands. There's a lot of focus these days on everyone's personal well-being, and we see that too, which is why we've chosen to spend our energies in the health, wellness, and lifestyle space.
Man, I love when businesses, specifically agencies, choose a niche. I feel like it makes all the difference. It's so hard to be everything to everyone. So when somebody has a defined niche, it just warms my little marketing heart, John.
I agree. I'm a big fan of focus as well, and that's why we decided to plant a flag somewhere, and it's been beneficial to our associates and to our clients both.
Wonderful. So let's dive further into today's topic. So performance marketing for businesses. I know over at Parallel Path, you're experts at that. So maybe it'll be helpful for some of our listeners if you define first off, what is performance marketing?
Yeah, well, we do a wide range of things in the digital marketing space. Our primary operating tenets surround performance marketing. And for those that are less experienced, that speaks to a lot of the digital marketing channels that are very appropriate for today's communication to either consumers or businesses. So that's when think of search marketing, social marketing, display advertising, and things that get a little bit more specialized like programmatic advertising and so forth and so on. So our job is to help clients figure out what's the right strategy for leveraging those channels to reach the target audiences they're out to pursue. And then once that strategy is in place, it's a matter of executing effectively across those channels. So which ones do we use? How much money should go to each channel? What's the right message and creative approach? And then what is the ultimate goals we're trying to achieve when it comes to somebody taking an action on behalf of that brand, which is the ultimate quest, is to get somebody interested in a brand and, whatever it might be, request an appointment, buy a product, sign up for a service, sign up for an email, whatever the priority might be for that company. We work on that together and come up with sort of the formula to win with them.
Now, I don't want to oversimplify this, obviously, and there's only so much we can do, in a 15-minute, podcast episode or so. So, but I do like to, I know as you do this over and over and over again, certain themes tend to arise, like it just happens over and over. What are some of those common themes that you see that maybe some businesses are facing in challenges when it comes to performance marketing before they start working with your group? Because I know certain things happen again and again, and you're like, well, as soon as you see them, you're like, oh, I've seen this one before. I know what to do. Like, what are those themes that you see, or a theme, whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it sort of depends on whether they're a believer or a non-believer in the power of digital marketing in the first place. So
good point.
Believe it or not, 2020 was finally the first year where there was more consumption of digital media than traditional media, which had long since been forecasted to happen, and it finally crossed over the threshold in 2020. So we do find ourselves in some cases having to be educating people that have built their businesses maybe on more legacy marketing and media strategies to understand the benefits of digital media. They might have some skepticism or just some lack of experience using the channels. So that would be one thing just to note. If someone is more a believer, quote unquote, or understands and sees the values, it's really getting clear on what the goals are, because doing everything is certainly not strategic. And sometimes there's a temptation to say, we want to be everywhere we can possibly be. And for some clients, that might make some sense. But for a lot of clients, it tends to be a much more precise mission as to which channels you would choose. And some of that is what stage you are in as a company. Are you in growth mode, or are you sort of like the 800-pound gorilla and you're trying to protect market share? Are you really in a brand awareness phase, or are you really in a lead generation phase? And or both of those things. And then that might suggest what's the right place to start or to devote most of your energies. So for instance, paid search, which is proven to be extremely valuable over years and years, is a really great place to capture existing demand, because someone's gone to that search bar to look for something very specific. So there's a desired intent there, and you want to do your best to go get those people that are a good fit for you and bring them into your funnel. And for other situations, when you're trying to build brand awareness, things like paid social might make more sense, where you're not only doing organic social media posts to get your brand out into the world, but you're augmenting it with some paid and sponsored promotion. And those people aren't necessarily overtly looking for something, but if you do your targeting right, you'll probably find people that would then take interest in your product or service, because you've done a good job of identifying who's a good fit for your business and how best to reach them. So those are the kinds of things we run into over and over. A lot of it's just getting really clear up front on what is the goal, and not just jumping in and executing stuff before you're really crystal clear on that.
So we've talked a little bit about your niche. Let's talk a little bit more about the size. Like, what's typically a good size company, and if there is one, I don't know, that you specialize in, or that gains the most value from working with you and your team?
Well, we talk about it as pursuing ambitious health, wellness, and lifestyle brands to help them grow faster through the power of digital marketing. And ambitious is a key word for us. So we're looking for clients that are of good size, but also are really opportunistic and have a mission to accomplish. They're not usually necessarily the market leader, sort of taking a defensive posture and protecting market share. They're the ones that we're mostly working with that are creative about how they go to market, or they have to outflank the big guy, if you will, through unique and targeted strategies. But they're still sizable companies. So usually our customers are in the mid-market and above. So they have the financial wherewithal to play in the territory in which they operate, but they might not necessarily be the number one player. And that's a real sweet spot for us as far as the size of clientele that we look for. We also look for a lot of other characteristics, but from a simple sizing standpoint, that's our primary orientation.
So we're recording this in January for everybody listening, January 4th or 5th, something like that. I'm losing track of these days here, but in 2021, anything interesting on the horizon that you're seeing?
Well, given our focus on health, wellness, and lifestyle brands, if anything we've learned over the last 9 or 10 months of such a difficult circumstance with the global pandemic is that there's never been more focus on everyone's, sort of personal well-being, physical, emotional, mental, and otherwise. And so the brands we work with, it's their primary mission in life to try and support those needs of consumers or even businesses in some cases. So the reason we chose health, wellness, and lifestyle versus just one or the other is they all sort of hang together for us. So if you have a doctor today who might, instead of prescribing just a traditional medication, say, hey, Adam, you need to get outside and spend more time in nature just to free your mind. Or when the mindfulness movement, which used to be sort of a fringe thing in the wellness space, is now becoming maybe part of a core curriculum in schools and education, you know that there's a much more holistic view of a person's well-being. And we really try and get at the core of that through our marketing and communications, find out who is in need of such things and how we can best be there. And the pandemic's, unfortunately greatly accelerated the needs of most humans. And so we feel an extra obligation to do our job with excellence to make sure that customers are getting the access to services that they deserve and need right now.
Wonderful. So, John, if somebody is listening to this and they want to learn more about Parallel Path or to connect with you and your team, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, of course, you can always visit our website, parallelpath.com. And there's an abundance of information there to most anyone who would be curious. I'm also reachable through LinkedIn. It's John Kadlic, Kadlic. And either way would probably be great avenues to learn more about us or me, and happy to help in any way I can.
Wonderful. Well, John, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about all the great work that you're doing over at Parallel Path and giving us some insight into the world of performance marketing and really how you're helping your clients and others, really just spreading education. So I think it's awesome what you're doing. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you're a first-time listener, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We have more great guests coming up for you and don't want you to miss out on any of that. And John, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been awesome.
You bet, Adam. Nice talking with you.